Well, hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Hello, hello, hello. How are we? How was your day today? How are we all doing? How are we all feeling? I am so happy to see everyone. Ish, can I say that? Can I say that I'm going to see you? That's what it feels like, because at least we are still connecting and at least we are still sharing this space together. But I'm so happy that you're here. I am so happy that you decided to spend some time with me tonight, as well as each other collectively. It is actually rather apropos that we are meeting virtually, because it speaks to what spiritual alchemy is and what it's about and how we can utilize and work with this information. So a couple of things I just want to make sure to check in, right? So we're sitting in our comfy chair, we've got our blanket, we've got our glass of wine, we've got our water, our green juice. Did you prep your space? I know that everyone got an email about how we can prep our space, how we can prep ourselves. Whatever it is that you need to do, let's take a minute and we'll settle in and make sure that we have done it and that we are ready to jam out and receive this information, assimilate this information. Couple of things, couple of ground rules, couple of action items, logistical things that I want to go over. First of all, for the sake of just efficiency and for smooth delivery tonight, there is not any commentary for this video. This is going to be me speaking to you. This is going to be me taking you through some guided meditation. Write something down that you didn't like and you want to talk to me about. I mean, this is not me just telling you what's up. This is not me just being like, this is how it is. Here are the answers. This is the solution to all the problems. No, this ultimately is a dialogue. This ultimately is a conversation. So I want you to know that if you have more you want to get into, please don't hesitate to reach out to me via email, via social media, whatever it is. Come find me. Let's talk about it. I always am willing to have conversation about anything, really. So no commentary, but please take notes. And that's something we're going to hit on in just a moment. As far as this live stream goes, we do have someone who's paying attention to the audio, to the video. So if something goes wrong or we hit a snafu in some capacity, no stress, don't worry. Go to your email and you will get instructions in terms of how to get back onto the live stream or how to get to the link and follow up with the rest of the video and the rest of the teaching. So don't worry about that. Social media. So obviously, please feel free to post, to share, like, follow, all of those things. You'll have information about what follow-up email. We'll also have homework. We'll also have a few other pieces of information. So we'll get to that at the end of it all. What else? Anything else? Last but not least, I mentioned the notes. I would love it if you could not only take notes for the sake of gathering information from what I say, but take notes so that you can identify how the things that I say make you feel. There is so much important information in our body and in the physical responses that we have to anything and everything of our world. So as I'm going through all of this, if you are finding yourself like resistant to something that I'm saying, or if you're finding yourself super nourished by something that I'm saying, this felt so good, this felt so spacious, so permissive, whatever the case may be. Bottom line, I really want you to connect with how anything and everything makes your body respond, okay? At the end of the teaching, we're going to end up closing with a guided meditation. And I specifically say closing with a guided meditation because once I take you through it, you are literally going to be kind of left in that beautiful, delicious, soft, gentle space. I will let you know when we're done. I will bring you kind of out of that guided meditation, but that's going to basically be the end of the live stream. And what I would love, experience, journal, express whatever it is that you went through during the guided meditation, however you might be feeling, whatever's on your mind, on your heart. But that is going to be a separate and private. So we are going to get into some of this. Let me just check my notes. All right. So why are we here? We are here to talk whatever it is you are utilizing. First thing that we're going to discuss and go over. Energy is the language of the universe. Write it down. Energy is the language of the universe. Second thing we are going to discuss and go over. It is through this language, it is through this relationship to energy that all things are created and outcomes are dictated. So let me repeat that. I know I said some extra words. It is through this language, through this relationship with energy, that all things are created and outcomes are dictated. That's the second piece of what we're going to discuss and experience tonight. Number 3, we literally, and I mean literally, do not need anything outside of ourselves to speak this language, to engage in this relationship. We are the tool. Our body, our physical form, is the tool. That's the third one. So number 1, energy is the language of the universe. Number 2, all things are created through this language, through this relationship to energy. And then number 3, yes. Awesome. So here we are. April 7th, 2020. Sheltering at home, quarantined. Life has shut down in a lot of ways. Why on the full moon? Why does the full moon matter? Why do we consistently, and maybe it's not consistent for everyone, but it's definitely consistent with the crowd that I roll with. Why do we gather on the full moon? It feels a little extra potent right now because of this quarantine concept, because of this sheltering at home, because of this social distancing. It feels extra right now, but ultimately we're always a little extra on the full moon, right? Why is that? Well, I'm gonna tell you why real quick. So obviously we all know, and the reason that is because when we, due to our orbit, when we get closer to the moon's gravitational pull, it affects the tidal waves. It affects the water line. That's called tidal force. So during the course of our orbit, we get closer to the moon and it stretches and bulges the water line. Well, we are 75% water as human beings. So our water is responding to that same tidal force. We are being stretched. We are being pulled. We are kind of bulging at the seams, so to speak. Our water is doing this. And so therefore, it becomes a very official light now, but we're talking like instinctual ancient lineage when we only could go by the light of the moon in the evening. Our bodies respond differently to tidal force. Our bodies respond differently to a greater amount of light in our ecosystem. So the esoteric question of the full moon, and the reason why we gather on the full moon, is because things are being stretched. We are being stretched. Things are being brought to light that we have to look at. And when I reference this funky time that we are in, there's a lot of stuff that's coming to light right now. There's a lot of things because they are available to us. We work with all those things because they are part of how our universe and how our earth is existing. And we're not separate from that. And we're going to get into all of that tonight for sure. So that's why the full moon. Yep, that's why the full moon. Okay, so let's start with a breakdown. When you see this, who knows what this is? For my girls and my people who have been at Only Love Studio, this is my Grammy's dictionary. And I have memories of being in my grandmother's bedroom, and she had it laying on a music stand, and she would just kind of like leaf through it and read definitions. She would always be in this dictionary, just kind of like, looking at pages, reading new words. So this dictionary has come along for the ride, and we're going to use it to look up some definitions. And the reason why definitions are important is because through investigating definitions, we realize that maybe some of the definitions we have for certain words or certain concepts are kind of outdated, maybe actually don't really apply, and offer us a different perspective, okay? So spiritual alchemy is what we're talking of or pertaining to the spirit or soul as distinguished from the physical nature, of or pertaining to the spirit, especially as the seat of moral or religious nature, symbolic or mystical, devotional, sacred, of or pertaining to sacred things. So when I'm reading that, one of the things that I want to highlight Yes, of course, it references religion, and this is always an important component, right? People like to talk about the difference between spirituality and religion. This is not a space where I'm going to say you should believe in this, you should believe in that. That's not what we're talking about here. That's your jam, that's up to you. What I'm offering to you and what I'm inviting you to investigate is, what are your definitions and do they still apply? So when we look at this definition, yes, it references a little bit of religion, but it also talks about distinguished from the physical nature. So there is some separate differentiation of, this is physical, this is spiritual, this is devotional, this is sacred. There's something different about the representation. And that's really all that we want to get into when we're talking about spiritual alchemy. You don't need to be necessarily a religious person to get down on the medicine of spiritual alchemy. You don't need to necessarily be, or claim a particular, dogma or anything. It's just noting that, hey, certain things have a little bit more oomph. Certain things have a little bit more reverence with which we engage with them. And this component, especially of distinguished from the physical nature, hey, there's something else other than the physical out there. So that's what we got for spiritual. We're gonna look at alchemy. A little bit of an arm workout here. So, okay, so alchemy. Medieval chemistry, an art which sought in particular to transmute baser metals into gold. Also to find a universal solvent and an elixir of life. That's really interesting. Hence, any magical power or process of transmutation. An elixir of life. The power or process of transmutation. Medieval chemistry, and that's kind of the maybe original and general expression of alchemy, is this idea of taking a metal that's maybe, and when we're considering, okay, spiritual, something beyond the physical, meaning something not so tangible, and then we accompany that with alchemy, okay, transformation, that's all that we're talking about here, is like beyond the physical, transformation beyond the physical, that we can work with an entity of some kind that maybe we can't actually touch. That's what we're going for here with spiritual alchemy. Cool, makes sense? Yes, are we on board? I really wish I could get some, in-person feedback, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll maybe next time. So that's our breakdown of spiritual alchemy. Wonderful. Love those definitions. Love the way it makes us think about some of the things that maybe we are a little too rigid around potentially. Who knows this book? This is called The Alchemist. Incredible book, very easy to read. It's just a little guy, but it's got some beautiful, very subtle and very profound wisdom. So I'm going to read a quick little passage in here because it's going to lead us to the next component of our discussion tonight. And it says, "Everything in life is an omen," said the Englishman, now closing the journal he was reading. "There is a universal language, understood by everybody, but already forgotten. I am in search of that universal language, among other things. That's why I'm here. I have to find a man who knows that universal language, an alchemist." So a universal language, understood by everybody, but already forgotten. What is that? What are we talking about here? A universal language, understood by everybody, but already forgotten. Well, I'm gonna tell you what we're talking about here. We're talking about vibes, bro. We're talking about vibes. Everybody, whether you claim to be spiritual or metaphysical or atheist or agnostic, or whatever it is that you claim, everyone can acknowledge and has acknowledged when we feel like something's off, when we meet a person and we feel like something's like that, that's just like that, I don't know, that's bad vibes, that's bad juju, there's something about that person. Or even in the reverse, right, where we just feel very drawn, we feel very at home, we feel very much a yes to whatever experience. That is vibration. And the reason that it's vibration, the reason that we can feel those things, we're going to dip over into some quantum physics real quick and talk about the basic structures, the building blocks of life. And when I say building blocks of life, I mean all things, like this body, this computer, or this phone that maybe you're watching me on, the structure that you are living in, the car that you drive, the planet that we walk around on. We're going to talk about the matter space statistic that said we could shrink all of the matter. If we took all of the empty space out of all the human population in the world, we could shrink the matter of the entire population down to, I think it said like a sugar cube. What? That was a little intense. I'm like, damn, that's a lot to take in. However, it speaks to this truth, which is the fact that we are more space than we are matter. And I know that like you're looking, it's like, okay, no, I'm dense. I can feel myself. Oh, man, sometimes I'm real dense. But we acknowledge that we can feel ourselves. You know, we can feel the things that we're sitting on and touching and working with. But this is where we kind of get into some of that definition stuff again. Yeah, you can feel that. But what does it mean to feel something? Why is it that I can say, yeah, I can feel my body and I can feel some type of thing between me and this other person that is drawing us together or repelling us? I'm feeling both of those things. One is tangible, one is not. So this idea that we are 99% empty space opens up our mind to the concept of I'm available. I'm actually open. Like things can pass through me. Things can move through me. I can receive things. And when I say things, we're talking about energy. We're talking about the vibes that are given off from a person, place, or thing. We experience that, right? So why does that matter? How do we even know that to be true? What are the ways in which we maybe even unknowingly honor the energy that flows through us and that we work with at all times? Well, we work out, right? We talk about how we need to like work it out. We need to release. I need to go to the gym. I need to go for a run. For those of us that are criers, we feel better after we cry, right? For those of us that need to get outside and get some fresh air, that shifts our experience or our perception, right? What about sex? Sex is a release. We need that connection. We desire that, like, you know, a sort of tension, and then that, like, I don't want to say letdown. Well, I hope it's not a letdown, but that like relaxation that happens after the fact. So we already every day go through these processes of releasing and moving energy, and we're not even necessarily cognizant of it. And that really is a lot of what it is I would love for you to start thinking about during the course of this whole teaching, is that we already do those things, but let's do it more intentionally. Let's engage with it with more conviction. Let's honor what it is we are feeling and let that lead our way. And when I say feeling, you know, people get really jammed up about feelings and talking about feelings. I'm not just talking about emotions, although that is part of it. I mean just the sense of like, this feels tight. This feels heavy. This feels open. This feels kind of like breezy. There is an entire, more expanded language that we have available to us to describe our sensory experience. And it's our sensory experience, AKA how we feel, that ultimately ends up dictating where we go, what we do, how we engage with life, how we engage with people. I mean, how many times do you hear people say, or even you say yourself, it's not what he said, it's how he said it. Or, yeah, I just don't want to do business with that person. I don't like their vibe. You know, like we already acknowledge that we, you know, have these feelings and these vibrational responses, but we say it in such passing, and be passive with it, to be conscious and engage with it, okay? To make that more of the forefront of how you live your life. To bring your energetic responses more into your decision-making process, okay? And why would we want to do that? Why does that matter, to bring our energetic responses more to the forefront? Well, it starts to stretch our mind beyond the physical. Even the small, rather benign example of, hey, there's a lot of different ways to approach a certain word or a certain definition. That stretches the vibrational response of life It will allow us to open up to more possibility. It will allow us to shift some perspectives. And ultimately, it's going to allow us to not be so attached. Attached. Who struggles with being attached to things? This girl right here. I struggle with being attached to things for sure. I have an attachment to money. I have an attachment to my body. I have an attachment to time. I have an attachment to the things in my world. We have attachments. And it's not that there is anything inherently wrong with the physical plane. And that's something I really want to actually take a moment and highlight. One of the biggest challenges, I think, and one of us talking about like transcending and like ascending and like the ego is bad. And, you know, even I just said it, like we're so attached. We are very attached. The vertical axis, which is kind of this idea of ascension and moving up in vibration, and the horizontal axis, because for whatever reason, for better or for worse, we're here, we're in these forms. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of really lovely things about being human. Like, I like to eat delicious food. I like to go and get a massage. I like to have sex. I like to cry. I like to feel my feelings. I like to feel my humanity. I like to have money. Like there's nothing inherently wrong with these physical components. It is our attachment to them that becomes a challenge. And we become attached to them because of the stories and the definitions. We become attached to them because we think that they mean a certain thing about our inherent value. So then that becomes the transaction and the exchange. Money is the transaction, you know, the component. It's that spiritual, vibrational, nonverbal communication that is going on that we need to engage with a little bit more. Because when we bring that to the forefront and we become educated, disciplined, skilled at speaking a nonverbal language, that's how we can start using that alchemic process to change how we feel about a thing, to change how we are engaging with our experience. Even to the point, and I promise you, even to the point where when you are sad or in pain, you will still be in love and still be feeling nourished and still be happy while you're losing your job, still be happy while that relationship is dismantling. It is possible for that to all exist if we can just start approaching things as energy instead of like dense, hard, black and white, this is it. I keep holding this, hold on, give me 1 second. I like to view us as humans as energetic bundles, right? Less about just the form of the body, but energetic bundles. And that kind of goes back to this idea of we're more empty space than we are matter. We just happen to have collected like my bundle that looks like that, right? Whatever the case may be, there are all these different manifestations and like dense forms of space matter ratio. So ultimately, when we honor ourselves as like, hey, I'm just an energetic bundle and this is how my energy is, and we're more able to work with it like a puzzle piece. We're more able to work with ourselves and each other and the dynamics of our life like puzzle pieces, meaning we can just kind of meet and match the energy that's being presented to us wherever it's at. There's a component of this that matters primarily around listening. So I've said a handful of times, absolutely. A big part of that is listening. Listening tends to require stillness. Listening tends to require space. Listening tends to require availability. Well, we've already established the fact that we're available. Like we're mostly empty space. We're available. Right now, at this particular time, we have a lot of time. We have a lot of space. So we have a really beautiful opportunity to maybe shift the paradigm of some of what we think and how we think and start to listen to what it is that may be going on around us. And that gets into that nonverbal conversation of the people, places, and things that make up your life. Listening is not just about our ears. Listening is about our entire body. Listening is about responding to the vibrations that are around us. That's listening. Maybe there's a different term, maybe there's a better term, I don't know, but I utilize that, because it allows my brain to conceptualize what it is that just happened when I feel something and feel called to act on it in a particular way. It's because I heard it. That's that universal language that the Alchemist was talking about. So we all have it, as the book says, but it's long been forgotten, meaning we do this vibration, making it a priority in our communication styles, and then trusting it. And trusting it is the big thing, the big thing. We all want external validation. We all want some type of physical confirmation that what we thought, what we said, what we did was right or was valuable. And we're going to get into why we need that so badly, why we want that validation so badly in just a moment. But I want to talk about this trusting piece a little bit because it's super important. How do we know when we can trust something? Well, in a sense, our brain needs evidence. Our brain needs to have a list of experiences where we behaved a certain way and got a certain outcome. So it's practice. It's just like anything else. This is a musculature, a spirit. I'm talking to my bookshelf right now, and I don't know, Olivia told me to go outside and like talk to the trees. I don't know, this bitch is crazy. We're gonna have these experiences of this is really awkward. But the only reason it feels awkward is because that musculature has atrophied over decades and millennia and eons of human existence, where we moved out of the vibrational, instinctual intuition language and got into the very linear words only, write it down, these are the rules. And natural intelligence exists as such, just to use this as an example. We were all at one point growing in a womb. And while we were growing in a womb, I'm pretty sure that nobody was like yelling at that womb and being like, listen, get those fingernails growing. You need to, that nose really needs some help. Hey, we only got 3 toes. We need 2 more by the end of the day. There was no like aggressive dictation. Do this, go there. This is how it has to be. We naturally did exactly what we needed to do to grow into our highest expression, which from our human perspective is we got to a certain gestation point and then we are able to be born. Then we are able to live on the outside, so to speak. Okay, cool. So do you think that just because we are out of the womb, somehow that natural intelligence does not still evolve and continue to expand and want to expand? Why do you always think we want more of everything? And again, we're attached to, I want more money. I want more, space. I want more time freedom. I want more things. That is a very limited and human expression of how we want to be more. We want to expand more. We want to be the highest expression of self. That is the natural intelligence that is literally imbued in us, period. Which is why I say to you, there's nothing outside that you need to make this happen, because it's happening all the time. You're just not listening. When we slow down, when we are willing to go in, that's how we learn how to listen. We listen to how we feel. When we are willing to go in, that's how we learn how to listen. We listen to how we feel. We listen to how our body responds. We listen to how it is that we want or need to connect. And that's what speaks to ultimately this need for validation. We all want to connect more. We want to connect with each other more. We want to connect. We want to feel like we're safe. We want to feel at home. It's very, sort of tribal in nature. We want relationship. We are so hungry for relationship that we spend money on certain diets to look good and be accepted, that we go to the bar and drink all kinds of alcohol so that we can, figure out how to be in relationship with each other. I mean, we spend so much time, effort, and energy on all these things because we want to feel connected, because we want to be in more deep, reverent relationship with each other, and honestly, with all things. We're really hungry people. We're really, really hungry. And so the idea that we have available to us at all times, a relationship a language that we can speak that will make us feel the most connected that I've ever experienced with the world around us, why wouldn't we want to rock that? Why wouldn't we want to feed ourselves in that way? And what's really interesting is that when we learn how to speak this energetic language, we don't need something from someone else so aggressively. We don't have to white knuckle hold on to the behavior and actions of other people, places, and things because we're expecting them to feed us. No. We have fed ourselves based on the natural intelligence that has always and will always continue to connect us to every single fucking thing around us. That's how we are fed. And if we're more space than we are matter, if we're made up of these atoms that just are spinning around and have all of this energy, if that's what we're made up of, that's what's going to feed us. Energy. That other person is just a dense bundle of energy. That bottle is just a dense bundle of energy. So yeah, it sort of feeds us, but those are empty calories. The real food comes from honing in your tool and being fed by the conversation and the connection to connecting us all. Because if I'm a dense bundle of energy and you're a dense bundle of energy, then the space in between us is also made up of the same constituents and components. They're just more spread out. So it's more like a field that we are in, like a grid work that we're in. My dense bundle's here, but if you can think about it, like I'm thinking of like old school, like graphing paper, right? Had all these boxes. Well, each intersection is a human being. Each intersection is a bundle of energy, but there's still a line that connects all of them. And they all are, connected all over the place, right? So that means that there's a channel. That means there is, a pathway and a through line for us to all be in relationship. When we can start approaching things in that way, everything, because we're not viewing it so much from a place of separation, we're viewing life from a place of connection and one of the things that no matter what, I try to always employ is the awareness, as I said in the beginning, that there are a variety of definitions available. We live in a limitless, infinite, to the best of our knowledge, universe. I mean, we're talking about if we live on a planet where right now it's nighttime-ish, and somewhere else across the globe it's daytime. Those are opposites, right? But nighttime, daytime, except it's the same planet, and it's true for them just as much as it's true for us. So we live in a world where seemingly opposite things can exist. We live in a world where there are multiple truths, depending upon how you look at it, depending upon how you feel about it, depending on your attachment to it. So allow yourself to have your truth in that moment, hands down. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yep. Have your truth. And leave a little asterisk there for when the space that you embody gets affected by the feel like that. All of you in this moment, I want you to think of a time in your life where something happened and your life changed just like that. You met a person, you got in a car accident, you got a job, you woke up and just felt different. You had finally released that thing that you've been working on for years. Whatever that thing is, that is a representation of spiritual alchemy. The beauty of all of this is that it doesn't happen to us. It happens for us. We get to actively participate in this language and in this conversation. And when we do that, we change the way we feel. We maybe affect another field, but we have an effect, period. I was just talking to a client today and she was referencing a talk she went to where a quantum physicist was talking about how an atom, and I mean just one atom on one side of the globe, has an effect on an atom on the other side. That's one atom. Think of all the atoms that are like in this body, in your fact, that our energy fields, the space that we take up, all of that has an impact on our life. And so my invitation for all of you, always and forever, is to decide to maybe make that part of your languaging, decide to listen differently, listen not just with your ears, but with your whole body, because our brain is the one that holds. We are not trying to transcend our physical experience. We're trying to integrate it. And right now, at this time in our lives, we are trying to integrate a whole new process of existence. We are trying to integrate a whole new style of communication and connection. And I'm sitting here looking at myself. That's connection. That's because the vibration of what I'm putting out is felt in your field. We don't have to be in the same proximity to be in relationship. We are always in relationship. That's why the things that we do matter. That's why the energy with which we do everything matters. And that's that second component of how all things are born of this energetic languaging, and the energy that we carry with us when we are creating, when we are speaking, when we are, interacting with people, when we're building a business, when we're painting a picture, like whatever it is, when we're cooking, whatever it is we're doing, everything. So cycles of all things. And I mentioned to you that right now it's, it's nighttime, and in different parts of the world it's morning, it's daytime. If we approach our life from a place of seasons, if we approach our life from this perspective of energy, less about the human presentation, we're just dense bundles of energy. Hey, this is how the energy is presenting. We can see a lot of this beautiful wisdom in the planet, in our natural surroundings. And so when I talk about nighttime and daytime and, like seasons, even weather patterns, right? Like today it's raining, tomorrow it's sunny. Like we don't necessarily, I know sometimes we get attached to the weather, but we don't necessarily get so caught up in how that energetic presentation shows up as much as we do, with how our energetic presentation shows up, or how the presentation of another person shows up. But it's really the same thing. So when something shows up as change, like I lost my job because of COVID-19, when something shows up as restriction, like I can't go out of my house because of COVID-19, when something shows up like death because this person got sick with COVID-19. And again, we live in this paradoxical universe where it's wintertime in one part of the globe and it's summertime in the other part of the globe. And it's not unlike where we have, a person in like an elder of the family dying, and then like a new baby is born, or someone finds out that they're pregnant, right? Like we have this, and then rebirth. And that's really all that death is it's just winter time. It's a time to, condense, and it's a time to rest and be still. And it's a time to transform, because then on the heels of wintertime comes spring. And spring is about rebirth, and spring is about newness, and spring is about freshness and little babies and sweetness and cuteness and spring winds that kick up seeds of the old that have, even amidst pain. And I'll tell you what, there's a difference between pain and suffering. Suffering is attachment. Pain is just our body's way of telling us to do something different. And that came from my midwife when I was pregnant with my first child. She would always tell me, pain is just your body's way of telling you to do something different. So stand and look at your pain. If you need, let's look at it together, so that we can change the way we feel about it. We can look at it as an energetic representation, work the threads of it in a very different way, and then it won't hurt so much. And then we have taken a thing like pain, we have taken a thing like a dull metal, an undesirable thing, and we've turned it into gold. So how do we do this? What are the practical application steps? Well, what I will say is that I'm going to send you an email with those details. I want to make sure that, it's been almost an hour, and we've, you have been sitting, and listening, and I so appreciate your attention and your investment. And so there's one answer, which is yes, I'm going to send you some information about how you can start to listen differently. I don't want to say listen better, but listen more intentionally. How you can start to engage this spiritual alchemy for the betterment of your existence, and therefore the existence of the rest of us, the rest of the planet, the rest of your community. But what I will tell you briefly is that one way to do it is to start listening to your body's responses more. That was the first part of what we talked about, which is, how is my body responding to something? When I think of something, is it making me do like this? Like, do I feel like, oh, that's a no. That's a no. That doesn't feel good. Nobody wants to feel like this. That's your body's way of saying, I'm a no to that. If you hear something and you're like, oh, that's your body's way of saying yes. And those are just two examples. There are a variety of ways in which our bodies will respond to different vibrations. But I suggest you start listening to your body. And that can be done by, at the end of the day, writing down, documenting different times during your day when you felt certain of it all. So that you can, in the moment, say, oh my God, I just had this conversation with this person and I felt this in my solar plexus and it made like the back of my neck burn, and just document it. You don't need to know what they mean yet, but just start writing it down so that you can bring it to the forefront of your mind, so that you can bring this bodily, visceral, physical response to the forefront of your consciousness. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it, another practice that you can engage in really on a daily, especially right now because we have all this time, is something that I have had, my medicine wheel girls do. It's something that I've had my clients do. It is a practice that I adore. And it may feel very weird at first, but that's okay. You're gonna love me in the morning. You'll love me when you do it and you feel connected by it. And so what it is, and I'm gonna give you a brief overview, but it will be in the email. What it is starting to open up and communicate and talk and listen to the things of your surroundings. So I said that to you in your opening or in the introduction video, right? That take a moment before you hop on this call and like look around, check in, like, okay, I'm here. Like acknowledge, to the things around you. So it's similar to that. And so what that means in very real time is like walk around your house, maybe walk around your backyard, walk around down the street, but just walk and go up to something, a bush, a plant in your home. It could be an inanimate object, your bookshelf. It could be a picture. Whatever it is that's around your space, but with no expectation, just go to a thing with it. Like, hey, curtains, what do you have to say to me right now? And whatever comes is what comes. What comes might be like, I fucking hate the color of those curtains. I actually need to get my mom to hem them because I'm sick of looking at the knots that I tie in it. Also, it would make me think of how when I moved in here, those curtains were put on backwards and it stayed backwards for a long time because I couldn't get my ass together to put it on the right way. And then it makes me think of how I, take forever to do it. Like, it'll take you to these places. It'll take you all these places. But the bottom line is that you're opening up. The bottom line is that you're starting to listen. The bottom line is that you are starting to be available to the vibrations of things. And it's really beautiful practice because information will come to you. Ideas, thoughts. You may randomly think of a person. Yesterday, I had a client. We did this practice, and baby girl, I know I love you. I know you won't mind if I share this. Excuse me. And she shared with me how through the course of different things, it reminded her that it was a loved one's birthday who, she doesn't, communicate very much with. And she's like, oh shit, it's her birthday today. I got to call her. And then you do that thing and you're fed. Whether or not the person answers the phone is irrelevant. Whether or not that person says, thank you for calling me on my birthday is irrelevant. You are fed because you heard what the vibrations, what the, nonverbal spiritual language of the universe said to you, and you did it. That's what feeds you. That's what feeds us. So to recap, the activity is spend maybe 20 minutes walking around a room in your home. Here, if you want to write down the ponderings, the musings, I'm always a big fan of that because it helps to, again, integrate this in. But do it every day. It's a practice. Be like that. But what I have learned about myself is that I'm comfortable in my inconsistency because I have learned how to ebb and flow with the energies that are around me And I've learned that I can be, fed in all these different ways. So I just kind of go where it takes me every day. That is the sort of second assignment that I give you. And then, of course, as always, if you need me, I am here for you. If you want help, if you want to communicate more with me, if you want to work with me, I will help you and guide you through this. That is what I do. I am a lover, I am a teacher, I am a listener, and I listen. That is one of the gifts that has been given to me. And one of the gifts that I have ultimately cultivated is being able to tune in to the different frequencies and fields and energies. And I hear the things that you don't say. So we will work through this process together. If you need me, I am here for you. So let's take a breath. Maybe it's just me because I'm the one that's been talking. But we're going to shift into meditation at this point, okay? And as a reminder, once this guided meditation is complete, I'm going to kind of just step away. I'll let you know when we are done. As I said, I'll bring you the live stream and you can write or journal or put on music or do whatever it is that you will feel good doing, and allow yourself to marinate and swirl around in all of these words and in all of this teaching and all of these thoughts and possibilities, okay? So I'm gonna take a sip of water, take a hot second. If you need to go run and do something, if you need to switch your position, I should have gotten an elastic. I'm very hot and sweaty with all this hair. If you need to do something to make yourself more comfortable, go ahead and do that. And we'll get started in just a moment. You do not need to see me for this portion of it. You just need to be able to hear me. So put your phone, put your computer, put whatever it is that you are watching on, wherever it is. So we just talked about spiritual alchemy. We just talked about how energy is the language of the universe. We talked about how it is through this language and learning to speak this language that all things are born and created, and ultimately the outcome of them is dictated. And we talked about how you do not need anything outside of yourself to accomplish this or to achieve this. So this is going to be a meditation about what it means to be the tool and the vessel. This is going to be a meditation that will help you connect to your body's inherent wisdom and natural intelligence. So the first thing that I want you all to do is to be aware of the weight of your body. Whatever it is that you are sitting on, laying on, sitting in, just be aware of your heels, your arms, your elbows. What are they touching? Acknowledge the weight and the pressure. Sometimes it can be helpful as we are settling in to listen to the sound of our breath. So we listen for our inhales. We listen to our exhales. And we think about what it means to be an instrument, to be a tool. It's not sharp. If it is not well taken care of, it can't do its job. So in this moment, I want you to go to a place in your body where you feel tension. Could be physical tension, could be emotional tension. Wherever it is, go to that place in your Now that you've acknowledged that place, I want you to now acknowledge all the other people that are on this call. You don't know how many, you don't know who they are, but they're there. So let it come to your mind's eye. How are we all connected? What do you see? Do you see a web? Are we all laying in a field in a circle? Are we sitting in chairs? You see us connecting. Now that you've got your grouping of all of us, you've got the acknowledgement of the place in your body where there is tension. I want you to gather in your hands the energy of that tension. Almost as if you have a magnet in your hands where you can pull all of that tension into it. I want you to gather it. And notice how it gathers. Notice what it looks like. Is it a glowing ball? Is it heavy and dense? Is it bubbles? Is it like slimy, slippery? How does it gather in your hands? Acknowledge that energetic bundle. Take a moment and acknowledge all the people that are around you also on this call, gathering in this way, pulling their tension from their body. And look at everyone holding their tension in their hands. What are we going to do with it? We're going to transform it. Take this tension that's in your hands, take this energetic bundle, however it manifests, and I want you to think about how you personally are going to transform it. Maybe you throw it into a fire. Maybe you throw it up into the air and it turns into butterflies. Maybe you literally blow it away. Whatever you want to do, whatever comes to you is the way that you transform this energy. As you feel complete, wash your hands. Wash your hands, wash your hands. Wash your hands of this attachment to that tension. Release and wipe off whatever it is that used to represent, even if you didn't know. Just wipe it off of your hands and release it, knowing that with the collective power and energy of the people on this call, the people in this community, we all released something that no longer served us. And we're grateful for that. We celebrate that release. We celebrate that death. We celebrate that transformation because now space has opened up for something new to come in. We all put energy into the giant alchemic pot so that something new can be stirred up, so that gold can now be formed with everything that we just released. And this is where I'm going to leave you. So I want you to come back to your weight on the surface. I want you to come back to those contact points. Your heels, the back of your thighs, your hips, your shoulder blades, back of your head, your arms, your elbows. Bring your attention to those contact points. Wiggle your toes, your fingers. Take a big breath in through your nose. And exhale with a sound. Exhale with noisy breath. Do that as many times as you want until you feel complete. Right, about the things you are experiencing and anything else that comes forward. I love you with all my heart. Thank you for being here, not just on this call, but in this moment, at this time, on this planet with me. Can't do this without you. And we are all in this together. I love you.